Welcome to the 16th episode of Let's Conquer Books. Jane Hamilton said, "It is books that are the key to the wide world. If you can't do anything else, read all that you can." In this episode, I interview the founder of Booksteer.com. Andy Jimenez has always been drawn to entrepreneurship. He studied hotel and restaurant management and has work experience in the restaurant and food business. He founded several businesses in the areas of hospitality, real estate, and other fields. Andy is passionate about reading, teaching, and learning. With the encouragement of his family and friends, he founded Booksteer.com. So let's get into it. All right, Andy. So the first thing I noticed, looking at what you're doing, is that you have a weekly book summary email list. So, talk a little about that. How's that work?
Yeah. Basically, for people who are interested in knowing about certain books, I have a subscription where people can get free summaries. And what I do is I'll take a particular book of that week that has to do with entrepreneurship and small business, and I pull out 10 lessons, at least the 10 lessons that I feel are the very most important lessons that a person could use and they can apply to their entrepreneurial journey. So if they sign up to that subscription, every week I will send them, almost like in a newsletter format, 10 lessons from that particular book. And that'll save people some time with having, to read these books. That actually will give them the insights. There's some books that people can read that sometimes has a lot of fluff and a lot of information that, is either repetitive or unnecessary. So what I do is I kind of narrow down what's really applicable, and people will get the benefit of using that without having to go through the whole book.
Oh, awesome. And so what's your vision, mission, or your why? Like how Simon Sinek says, what's your why? Why are you doing this?
The reason why I'm doing this is I think my goal and my mission is that people who want to become entrepreneurs can build a business around work that they love. So part of the books that I have involve people doing assessments of themselves, kind of finding out what their strengths are, what are they good at. Also, people to help them uncover their interests and their passions. But in particular, when they do that, to try to build a business around that. And building a business around it requires them to know a little bit about cash flow, learning about the kind of mindset they need to have. But my mission is to get people to basically build a business around what they love. Nice. And I think a lot of people, are sometimes they focus on money, and that's something that I did before. I would go after a business because I was so focused on money. But the problem that happens with that is that when you focus on money, it kind of throws you off your journey. And it also helps, it affects you because you start get this, what they call the shiny object syndrome, which everything that looks like gold, you go after, and you're just not grounded. And so I learned that I needed to really assess who I was. Also, a lot of times people are not good at certain things. Personally, I feel like I'm not really good at management. And I used to have a problem with that because I said, how can I want to be an entrepreneur and not be good at management? But the bottom line is that I really wasn't. And so, I think when people make an assessment of who they are and know what they're good at, what you end up doing is that you either try to learn about that particular skill, or you can go ahead and have someone else who's really good at that particular skill do it. So I think doing an assessment of yourself is very, very important. My mission is basically to have people know what they're passionate about and to build a business around it.
Yeah, that's a good why to have. And I see that you have a blog, like you write articles, and I was looking at one of them called Business Talk. That's the title of it.
Yes.
And you have 4 books, and since this is a podcast mainly around books, you put Managing Oneself, Peter Drucker.
Yes.
You put Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, E-Myth by Mike Gerber, I think his name is, and Good to Great.
Mike.
So tell me why, those books made the must, what was the must reads or for any entrepreneur?
Yeah, those are the I consider to be the four foundational books for an entrepreneur. Think and Grow Rich is like a book that is so critically important for people to read. This man, Napoleon Hill, researched the top business owners of that time, Charles Schwab, Henry Ford, and several other people, and he interviewed them personally. And he was able to get the mindset and the applications that these men did to be super successful. So that book helps with the mindset, and it's a really good because it's based on research. The E-Myth Revisited is basically by the gentleman by the name of Michael Gerber, and he basically teaches people how to create systems, basically a franchise prototype for their business, because most people fail in business, but most of the time they fail because they believe that if they are able to do a certain type of work, that it will make them a good business person. But it doesn't, because just because you are basically a technician and know how to do the work doesn't mean you know how to build a business or how to run a business. And a lot of people fail. 80% of the businesses that start, over 1 million businesses start every year, and 80% of them fail in the first year. And a lot of it is because people just don't understand what entrepreneurship really is. They don't understand what management is, and they don't understand what being a technician is. And he helps people basically structure systems around the business so that you can be repeatable. Starbucks has a system. McDonald's has a system. FedEx has a system. You won't see any owners behind the counter because the system runs the company. You have people that are working the system, and it helps them, produce the product consistently every day. Then you have the other book, Good to Great, which basically is a book about businesses, but it applies to a person personally, and it involves 3 criteria. One is, what are you passionate about? What are you good at? And will people pay you for for the business that you start? So if you want to start a business and you're passionate about it, but you're not either good at it or there's no money in it, then it's really a waste of time. If you are good at something, but yet you're not really passionate about it, then you would probably be bored with it. So it helps, it teaches you to incorporate all 3 into it. If you find a business that incorporates all 3 of those things, your passion, your strengths, and people are willing to pay you for that particular service, you basically have a viable business in your hands. And I think there was there a 4th book?
Yeah, the Peter Drucker, Managing Yourself, or Oneself.
Manage Oneself. That is probably one of the best books I've ever read. It was actually, for me, it was just, it just changed my whole mindset. And that was basically understanding who you are as a person. You have to you need to understand, how you do things. How do you best perform? Are you good by yourself? Are you good around other people? Do you study better at home? Do you study better at a coffee shop? Do you know what your strengths are? And it basically, the message is focus on your strengths and punch your weaknesses. Yep. Don't try to build your weaknesses. Focus on your strengths, and that will actually get you further.
Yeah. Ty Lopez also considered as one of his best books he's ever read.
Oh, he does? Okay.
Yeah. So I see you also have a library collection, and those are the reviews you do for the books you've read. Is that how kind of that is, or?
Yeah, those are basically the summaries. And there'll be basically the 10 lessons on each of the book. It'll be mostly also a review, letting people know whether the book is really good or not. At least from my standpoint, because it being good is relative, I think. But in most part, to me, something being good is that it has really insightful information and is something that's not repetitive and not fluff. And so I'll review the book. I haven't put any kind of star system in it, but I'm planning to do that so people can get an idea of what my opinion is on the book.
Okay. And I see that you have plans to start a podcast.
Absolutely. My plan is to start a podcast reviewing books, but also getting an opportunity maybe to interview some of the authors of the books, also interview people that are successful entrepreneurs that are doing extremely well, being able to get an opportunity to be able to interview them and give some value to people to hear what they have to say and how they did things. And it won't be just, people that are multimillionaires, but it'll be people that are actually doing, maybe $500,000 in business a year, $1 million a year in business, because they have a lot of lessons and a lot of things that they've been through to get to that point. So it'll be a wide array of incomes. But the whole point of it is to really, really help people, see what it takes to have a business.
Nice. And I have to ask you, I love Gary Vee. I love his books. And I seen you have on Instagram a pic with Gary Vee.
Yes.
Tell me a little about that.
Yeah, that was it was a entrepreneurs conference in Tampa, and I went to see him. I don't say perform, but basically, do a keynote there, and he was about to take a plane. And this is one of the things I find to be so incredible about this man. So I really like Gary Vee a lot. He was very busy, and there was a lot of people who wanted to take a picture with him. And I asked him, can I take a picture with you? But he was being pulled in so many different directions. And then what he ended up doing was he wanted to get into my picture and make sure that I got the picture. He snuck his head in to get the picture in at that moment as he's being pulled by other people. And this is just like, he's I just find him to be a very humble. He didn't have to go through all that, but he was so eager and so focused in making me happy that he did that. And the guy was really a few minutes, he had to go and leave and take a plane. But it was great. I wanted to pose a question to him, but he wasn't able to stay. So, I was not able to do that. But I find him to be a person who is focused on being truthful, a person who's focused on helping people, find who they are and be honest about who they are instead of faking entrepreneurship. That's why for me, this is a journey, and it's a journey of being real, of being open as to whatever my experiences are, not to make stuff up, but at the same time, give insights for other people. But Gary Vee is just an incredible individual who I definitely look up to very much.
Nice. I'm jealous. I need my picture with him.
Yeah.
So lastly, where can, people listening to the podcast connect with you?
Yes, if they can go into my Instagram,
okay.
#booksteer, and they can direct message me, or they can email me at info@booksteer.com. And if they have any questions or comments, they can go right onto my website. Also, there's a contact form there. They can contact me through booksteer.com. And if they have any questions or suggestions, I'm definitely open to them.
Awesome. I'll put links on the episode show notes, so if anybody wants to reach out to you. And thanks. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Anchor, or any other platform that plays podcasts. so you don't miss the next episode, which will be about how audiobooks can make it easier and quicker to read lots of books.